Although dairy products may not be increasing quite as much as meat, they're still on the rise. I spoke to a dairy expert and a local Cole County farmer to see how these higher farming prices affect milk prices for consumers. Despite opposition, the amendment was adopted, but it is still unclear if the bill will be put on Governor Parsons' desk come Friday. The roads are also pretty rough out here, and to give you an example of this, the snow right now is very thick and dense, and right under it is a thick sheet of ice. I'm live here outside of High Rise Bakery, which is one of the businesses I spoke with today, and I'm starting to see some snow coming down. Across all industries, women in the U.S. who work full-time are paid 83 cents less on the dollar compared to men. Emily, today the Shangri-La dispensary told me that they feel neutral about the bill's passing. They just want recreational marijuana to finally be legal in Missouri for adult use. Lopez says since this is private property, they only had access to this boat ramp and river with a pass, but soon they will have access to all of the land. I spoke with a food supply chain expert and a local pantry director to find out how this big problem is keeping cabinets bare for those who need food.
I've had people text me and saying that I'm a bad parent or a teacher and I should have told them what was going on.
We have new developments for you tonight. You might remember the Lynn Daycare Busy Bee accused of distributing medicated substances to children without parents' consent. These alleged substances were gummies and powdered milk served to the children. Good evening, everyone. I'm Emily Spain. Thanks for joining us. KMU's Reagan Di Trolio joins us now in the studio to break down new accusations coming from a former Busy Bee employee. Emily, according to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, Desi recently received an application for a new child care facility. This facility is called Growing Minds Preschool, and it has a different owner from the original daycare, Busy Bee, but it is also in the same location. I spoke with a former employee, the Growing Minds owner, and a lawyer to understand how this new daycare could possibly get a Desi license.
I seen the gummies. I don't know what they were though. Like I just knew she would give them to them and they would, pretty much wind down and go to sleep pretty fast.
The Growing Minds Preschool Facebook page has the same email, address, and photos as the Busy Bee Facebook page. Desi confirmed the new preschool's application in an email to KMU8. The Growing Minds preschool owner, Danielle Rhodes, says the children in the photos are her children.
Attended Busy Bee. They're my children, so I used photos of my children for the Growing Minds page.
A former Busy Bee employee says Danielle is friends with Tanya Newbound, Busy Bee's owner, that lost her daycare license.
That's Tanya's best friend. Like, I'm not going to look at it differently than when I did the other daycare.
She said that you are Tanya Newbound's best friend. What do you have to say about that?
I'm not sure we would call each other best friends. We know each other.
They would talk every day. Danielle would come in and help her. Danielle's husband would come and help Tanya if something broke in the daycare.
A lawyer that specializes in cases involving children in a school setting says it's hard to tell where this investigation will go.
I've not seen anything like this before.
He says it's possible Newbound could only suffer regulatory consequences once the investigation concludes.
Investigations are underway. There are a lot of things we do not know, so time will tell.
I reached out to Newbound for comment, and she did not respond to my calls. The Osage County Sheriff's Department also did not comment, as this is an active investigation. And Desi says they are currently reviewing the Growing Minds application. If approved for her daycare license, Danielle says she hopes to open the daycare in the fall. In the studio, I'm Reagan Di Trolio, KMU8 News. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, the Consumer Price Index compared to last year shows overall a 3.1% increase for dairy products and a 6.8% increase for milk alone. KMU8's Reagan Di Trolio is live outside of Hy-Vee to tell us how milk prices are increasing at the grocery stores. Reagan. Although dairy products may not be increasing quite as much as meat, they're still on the rise. I spoke to a dairy expert and a local Cole County farmer to see how these higher farming prices affect milk prices for consumers. From the udder to your fridge, milk prices are costing you more.
I would just suggest as we look ahead over the next few months that consumers are going to find retail milk prices, what they pay when they go to the grocery store, is going to do nothing but go higher for the next few months.
Clover's, a local natural market, says they're waiting for the prices to hit their shelves.
We're paying the same price that we did in December, although with that and other things, including meat, we expect the other shoe to fall.
But what about from a farmer's perspective? Ted Broomer, who likes to call himself the herd manager of Broomer Dairy, says his farm is feeling the hike.
Everything has gone up a lot. I mean, our feed has gone up substantially. We feed a lot of byproducts. Our byproducts have increased about $100 a ton.
As for milking the cows, the Broomers are able to produce 1,100 to 1,300 gallons a day.
Appreciate everybody that buys our product as well. So without that, there would be none of us here.
99% of the gallons made from the Broomers cattle go to Central Dairy in Jefferson City. And as for the price of milk, I got this milk from a break time and it cost over $5. That's just for a half gallon. And dairy expert Scott Brown expects milk prices to go higher in the coming months. Live in Columbia, I'm Reagan Di Trolio, KOMU 8 News.
African Americans were first appointed to police departments back in the late 1860s. Today, there are about 58,000 black police officers in the U.S., according to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Museum. As we celebrate Black History Month, KOMU 8's Reagan Di Trolio shows us how a unique law enforcement program at Lincoln University is helping train more black officers.
When he's not at Lincoln University, you can find Max Walker patrolling the state capitol as a police officer. He got his job after graduating from the first HBCU Law Enforcement Academy. The Luletta program was established 2 years ago, and Walker was a part of the second class.
So that exact same night when I saw the news, I went online and put in the application. A couple of weeks later, I went down there and shook the chief's hand. He said, "Oh, you're going to have a good time here. I'm going to give you all the skills you need to do your job correctly."
After around 5 months into the accelerated program, Walker graduated as one of the top 3 recruits in his class.
The thing that I liked about him the most is he was always looking for a way to see the bright side of things.
Right after graduation, Walker accepted an offer to work with the Missouri Capitol Police.
We were very excited to have him join us. We're always looking for good officers who want to work with the Missouri Capitol Police. We're very unique, and he was willing to talk with us and interview with us and eager to learn.
Chief Gary Hill runs the academy at Lincoln. He says it's not always easy being a minority in law enforcement.
You know, some of the first black police officers picked up and put on the badge in the 1900s, the early 1900s, when race relations were at their worst at that time. So if they can do it then, we definitely need to step up our game and be able to do it now.
Chief Hill says when he told this to Walker, he took it to heart.
I definitely feel accomplished being a minority officer. I mean, given 10, 30 years ago, something like this, I wouldn't imagine would be possible at all.
But Walker made sure it was possible. He's only been on the job as a Capitol officer for a month, but looks forward to a lot longer in law enforcement. Reagan Di Trolio, KOMU 8 News, Jefferson City.
Volunteer fire departments are losing their volunteers. According to the New York Times, the number of volunteer firefighters in the U.S. dropped around 11% in the past 30 years.
KOMU 8's Reagan Di Trolio shows us some firefighters with the Boone County Fire Protection District split their time to help fill a need.
Volunteer firefighters are falling off. That's according to data from the National Volunteer Fire Council.
We see the decline in our neighboring jurisdictions. So you don't have to go very far to find volunteer fire departments that are 15 people, maybe 20 people.
Volunteer Sarah Jones says she's seen this at Boone County Fire.
There's still a hard sell to get people to come volunteer, whether it's with the fire department or in any other capacity.
Volunteer Lieutenant Don Baker says this could be due to Boone County Fire's recruiting qualifications.
We have an interview process which is different than most.
He says this problem could be from people being too busy to volunteer.
I'll work a regular from 7 until 5. I'll come here immediately afterwards. I'm here by 6, and then I'll usually get home probably 11:30.
Don Baker is a systems analyst at University Hospital by day and fights fires by night. And Sarah Jones is a park superintendent when she's not volunteering. But both firefighters say the extra work is worth it to save lives.
We had a cardiac arrest, and we all jumped in and we helped, and that guy is out there mowing his yard this week.
And it's worth it even when they can't save lives.
We ran on a gentleman that was a frequent flyer. He passed away, and about a year later, his wife flagged me down and basically thanked me for staying with her during the time that the medics and stuff were working with him.
These first responders prove every day that they're never too busy to help others in need. Reagan Di Trolio, KOMU 8 News, Columbia.
Assistant Fire Chief Blomenkamp says they don't see the need for volunteers quite as much as more rural districts, but the Central Callaway Fire Protection District in Fulton is always looking for volunteers. If you would like to apply to be a volunteer firefighter, visit our website on KOMU.com.